And, and so now, before I do that, I have to make sure we speak over it. All right, good stuff. All right, ladies and gentlemen, another episode of, hold on a second, we have two other guests coming in. Chenier, Michelle, and all right, cool. Another episode, a morning rise here at More Homes. We, we like to interview staff. We like to interview entrepreneurs across the world and share their stories and see, what makes them successful, right? Today's guest is a very special guest for me, good friend of mine. I consider him my younger brother, someone I go to for advice and just a think tank. I mean, to say he's smart it's an understatement. I think Edison would agree. He's my co-host on the podcast we do for Business Casual. He's a loan officer from Movement Mortgage. Sorry.
Yep.
He's also a licensed realtor at More Homes. He's a father.
Mhm.
He's an amazing father. He's an amazing husband. He's an amazing friend. He's an amazing loan officer. So I don't think I can find a negative thing to talk about. Chris Estevez. Chris, welcome, man. How are you?
Thank you for having me, guys. And yeah, it's weird hearing all those things, but thank you for that awesome introduction, man. KB, you're turning into one of my best friends too, and
Thank you.
I always say I wouldn't be here without Edison Moreno. So I have a lot gratitude for the both of you.
So how did that make you feel? All those things. I mean, you don't think about that often, right? But like when you break it, when someone breaks it down for you.
Yeah, no, man. And I can't take all the credit. Like I wouldn't be able to do any of the stuff that you mentioned if I didn't have a good supporting cast. My wife, I would say she's the anchor. She's the one that holds everything down. Yeah, I'm the face behind everything, but it wouldn't be possible if she wasn't supporting me at home and making sure that we have a stable place with peace and calm to kind of recharge our batteries and get back out there, right? Because the world of sales can really kick you in the teeth, and you need a stable foundation to kind of get back out there, get back on the horse, and do it all over again. So I
Yeah,
have
that's
a lot
that's
of
a
a
good
lot of
point.
gratitude to my wife Vanessa.
Yeah, shout out to Vanessa. She is awesome. I agree with you. I got to spend some time with her at your house and my house and at the one Edison's house one time.
Yeah.
And she definitely is a strong personality and she's there for you. I wonder how is it for those that don't have a partner and they're doing sales and they're beginning to do sales, and they're younger. Um, it must be tough because to do sales, to do entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
oh man, you need support system.
Yeah, and it's weird, man, because like when I started this journey of doing sales, right? Vanessa and I still weren't together when I first started in real estate. And I was doing what I thought was okay then or good then, but once we kind of met each other again, and I say met each other again because Vanessa and I have known each other for years, like over 10 years. But about 4 or 5 years ago is when she kind of came back into my life. And really from that point forward, her and I kind of were aligned on what we want to do, what we want to accomplish in life, what we want to obtain, and
Hmm.
put things into perspective of what I had to do to make those things happen. And so I hear what you're saying. Yeah, it's tough to get started in the beginning, especially if you're by yourself and you don't have that support system. But if you kind of put forth your goals and you make that like something very important for you to accomplish, and you have someone that's also in a sense depending on you to make it happen or supporting you to make it happen, and they're working just as hard as you are to make this happen, it kind of gives you that extra fuel.
Yeah, that's true. That's crucial. Let's go back to the origin story, man. You know me, I'm a big believer. I always say your adulthood is based on your childhood, right? And I know you're from the Northeast, right?
Yeah, so I was actually born and raised in Queens, New York, born in Corona, raised in Flushing.
Wow,
Yeah.
my hometown, man.
Yeah, man. So when 50 Cent became big, I was a big 50 Cent fan because I was like, yo, that's my hood.
That's your hood.
Um, but yeah, man, grew up there, and honestly, Big shout out to like my cousins that kind of shielded me from all the nastiness. I had two older cousins that were like my brothers, Salim and Joel. And every time I got to school, yeah, I was a new kid in school, but they were like, "Oh, you're Joel's cousin or you're Salim's cousin. Okay, cool. We got you back." So I learned at a very young age in New York. It's like, you got to be careful who you connect with, who you involve yourself with, because and they'll tell you, man, like a block away from where I was raised was the projects, right? And I had to walk past the projects every single day to get to school. And I just had that mentality of, yo, keep your head down, do what you got to do. They don't need to know who you are. You don't need to know who they are, and I've always been that way. So I know I'm a very private person. So a lot of the people that are at more homes don't really know much about me. And it's just because it's just something that's ingrained in me. So to your point, my childhood kind of instilled that in me. It's like, walk your lane, be who you are, do the things that you want to do, and if they want to get to know you, they'll get to know you organically, not because you're like all up in their face. So that's
Yeah.
always my mindset.
Okay. So from a young age that seed was planted. Okay. So Queens, hometown to 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson, my boy. When did you move from Queens to Florida?
It was right after my freshman year of high school. So I would say I was 15 turning 16 or 14 turning 15, somewhere around there. Um, my parents decided to purchase a home in Sunrise, Florida, very close to Fort Lauderdale, right by
Yes.
Flamingo,
Yep.
right off of Flamingo. I kind of know the address, don't know the full address off the top of my head.
All
Uh,
grass.
but I went to literally one of the worst high schools in
Plantation?
all of Florida, Piper High School.
Yes, I know it very well.
So I love telling this story because they're like, "Yo, this dude, like, well, what do you know?" I was like, "Bro, I've been around the worst of the worst."
Yeah.
My year at Piper, if you look it up, I think it was the year 2004 to 2005. That school was known for the most stabbings in school. One of my best friends literally brought back his homework assignment. He's like, "Yo, look at my homework assignment. That's blood. The kid next to me got slashed." Like it was bad. Like it was bad. And my parents caught on that it was bad within the first 2 weeks. But again, keep your head down, go to class, do what you got to do. Nobody needs to know who you are. Don't talk to any girls. You don't know who these girls are talking to. So that was always my mentality when I went to Piper, man.
That's interesting. Your dad, what did your dad do?
In New York, he was a truck driver for a milk company, Daily Farms, if I'm not mistaken, and he was
Yes.
making a pretty good living for himself at that time, man. And then when we moved to Florida, he kind of dabbled into entrepreneurship. He bought a construction truck, and he started delivering materials from point A to point B.
And he did pretty well in doing that too, entrepreneur venture.
He did well for about a year, and then we decided to move to Kissimmee, Florida, after about a year. One, to get me out of that school. Two, because my best friend had started going to Gateway High School, which is in Kissimmee. So my best friend from like kindergarten in New York moved to Kissimmee. So we were like, "Yo, this makes sense." And three, he felt like there was more opportunity here in Central Florida with construction than there was in South Florida, right? Mind you, this is all prior to like 2006, 2007, 2008.
So you guys moved to Central Florida. School is not good. I mean, that's a good concern to have to move, right? Kissimmee. Okay. And then he got here. What do you do here?
When he got here, he kept going with the truck. And then sure enough, around 2006, because construction had drastically slowed down, his business kind of went under. It wasn't a very good time for our family. My father had filed for bankruptcy or bankruptcy, just to get the truck off of his name. So I mean, it was a very very dark time, and he was trying to figure out different ways to make money. At one point, towards the back half of my senior year, I don't even think I really talk about this time at all. My dad was like, "Hey, listen, I can't find any work here in Florida. I'm gonna move back to New York, and I'm gonna work for the employer that took care of me there. He said he's willing to have me back, and I'm gonna stay with my friend, and you and your mom are gonna be here by yourself, and I'll help cover the bills."
Yeah.
And my dad, sure enough, man, he wasn't even at my high school graduation because he was in New York. working his ass off, man. And I just remember him being in his 40s, late 40s at that time. Actually, no, he might have been pushing 50. And dude, like being a truck driver delivering milk cartons, it sounds easy, but it's not like commercials like here's your milk. No, man, they're baskets like of milk. Like the basket
Great.
will
The
have like
crate.
like crates, yeah. It'll have like 8 1-gallon milks in one crate. Like that stuff is heavy. And he was pulling or dollying like 5 or 6 of them at a time, up and down from the lift gate in New York, in the city, right? In downtown New York. At 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning is when he started his delivery route. And the weather in New York most of the year around that time, dude, it's cold, man. Like we're talking
Cool.
20, 10-degree weather. But something about my dad, man, he always instilled very good work ethic. When I was like 13, 14, and I started kind of getting to know my friends, and I was like, hey, dad, can I go this weekend with my friends here? Sure, you can go, but you got to work with me and earn the money so you can pay for that because you think that stuff is free. No, it's not. You want $40? All right, come with me Saturday morning at 2 o'clock in the morning and let me know if you still want to go out with your friends that night. So sure enough, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. So I would go to work with him at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. He'll wake me up at 1. So I would have to go to work with him, and it'll be like 3 degrees outside plus the wind chill, so it feels like -10. And I'm out there doing work, man, just to get 30, 40 bucks. I mean, it's probably against child labor laws at this day and age, but back then, man, that's how I was able to go out with my friends on the weekends.
Hmm. That's interesting, man. How's he doing now? Is he retired?
No, he's not retired. I mean, he is in a sense. He has some really good longtime friends that are very well connected in New York. My dad's story is he used to train horses in Dominican Republic with his father, my grandfather, and my grandfather was like a renowned horse trainer for racing in Dominican Republic. To this day, he has trained the most winningest horse in Dominican Republic history. It's called Maximo Felo Flores. To this day, they still celebrate that horse's life once a year, and my family is
Oh,
invited to the horse tracks to celebrate that. So my dad's name carries some weight with people that were in that world, and he has some friends that are in New York and things like that that were able to hook him up with a work from home job. That's a U.S. government paid job, and essentially he doesn't really do much.
good for him, man. Good
And
for
then
him.
his downtime, he just drives Uber. He's just hanging out, man.
Or your mom, housewife, homemaker.
No, my mom was working since I could remember. When I was a little kid, she used to be a manager at Wendy's, because it was like literally 2 walking distance from where we lived. So, sometimes I wouldn't see my mom for 2 days if she had to work the closing shift, and then the next day she had to work the mid shift or whatever. Right before we left, maybe 2 years before we left New York, she got a job at the bank across the street from us, like literally across the street from us. Because that's the cool thing about New York is everything is walking distance, right? So, she did that for a little bit, and then sure enough, when we moved to Florida, she was able to find a banking job in Fort Lauderdale, and then also in Kissimmee. She worked at CFE Credit Union, which is now Addition Financial. The one over here in close to downtown Kissimmee, she was there for like 15 years, man. But yeah, she's always been working. As long as I can remember, my mom has been working.
That's awesome. So you come from a family of hard workers. It makes a lot of sense. All right, so let's fast forward a little bit. High school was done. You go to college?
I did for a little bit, man. It just wasn't my thing. I'll
Where'd you
just,
go?
huh?
Where'd you?
I went to Seminole College
Okay.
for a semester, and then the reason why I went to Seminole College is because I was recruited to play baseball over there. But what ended up happening is I realized like, damn, this is an hour drive for me. I had to buy a car, right, to get to college, right, because that was the only way I was going to get there, you know. And two, the baseball coach required me to stay after school Monday through Friday for practice, and I had to pay for a car. My parents couldn't pay for a car. I just told you they were not in the best financial
Hmm.
situation. So I got a job prior to getting that car. I was working at Nike. And at the same time that my baseball coach was saying, hey, you need to stay after school 5 days a week. Nike was offering me a full-time job as an accounting assistant, as administrative assistant. Essentially, my job was the accounting piece in the morning and during the day and at night. And I took it. I took it, and I knew I had to say goodbye to baseball when I took that job. So I had to, say goodbye, and I started my career with Nike working as an accounting assistant.
How old?
I was 18. I was
18.
18. Yeah.
Barely a man.
The second I turned 18, I had a full-time job as an administrator because I had started with them as a seasonal. They liked me. They kept me as part-time during my senior year of high school. So I would work Fridays and weekends. And sure enough, that summer that I was transitioning out of high school, I did I took on the third shift from 5 a.m. to 2 a.m. and the management just loved me, bro. They were like, dude, this is a hard worker. Our job was to fill the floor, organize the stock room, yada, yada, yada. So I learned a lot about logistics, shipping and receiving. And then they threw me into accounting assistant. I don't know why they thought I'd be a good accounting assistant, but I did
Yeah.
it.
That's 50 year end? 50K?
No. As an accounting assistant, dude, I was probably making like $12, $13 an hour. But mind you, this is
Wow.
2007, 2008. So at the time for an 18-year-old, bro, I was
A lot of money.
balling.
A lot of money. A lot of money. I
Yeah, I
agree.
was balling at that time.
A lot of money. Okay, so Nike happened. Okay, so and you talk about Nike quite a bit, how their systems and their philosophy of business have influenced you quite a bit. Talk about that.
Yeah, man. So with Nike, man, they have these maxims. I don't remember all of them off the top of my head, but the two that always stuck with me is be a sponge and do the right thing. I feel like everyone can relate to that, right? Like do the right thing. Sometimes the right thing to do is the hardest thing to do. And that's why some people don't always do the right thing. Let's just be honest, right? But the second one was be a sponge. So I've always been very observant. I've always been very quiet because I'm listening and I'm observing and I'm seeing what people do, what they say, how they solve their problems, how they work through things, right? So at Nike, I learned a lot about shipping and receiving during that third shift. And then I got thrown into this role that I never done. Dude, I didn't know how much money there was in this world until I became an accounting assistant. 18-year-old working for a $50 million store, and they entrust me, an 18-year-old, to count their deposits at the end of the night. I kid you not, dude, on a regular basis, I would see $250,000, $300,000 cash in front of my eyes. And I was responsible for accounting for every single one of those dollars. Mind you, under camera, right? So obviously no thoughts of stealing or anything like that came through my head. But I learned a lot about how much money was in the world because every single day, bro, like clockwork, this money would just roll through, dude. And I was just like, God dang, where does all this come from? I was like, no wonder they could pay for me. No wonder they could pay for all these employees and these managers. Like this is pennies compared
Yeah.
to what they're earning on a regular basis. And that really opened my eyes. But they knew that it was temporary for me. I wasn't a very good accounting. I was good at the counting piece, but I sucked at all the other stuff.
Yeah.
So they were like, yo, this guy's good, but we got to get him out of here. He's not an accounting assistant. So shortly after that, I got promoted to like a specialist, or at the time it was like a lead position.
Okay.
And I had to move stores to the one off of International Drive, a big store, and I learned a lot there. I spent like 3 or 4 years there, and I literally got to learn from some of the greatest retail minds, man. I still remember Lucas Chittister. These names mean nothing to you guys, but to me, they mean everything. Lucas Chittister, he's probably one of the goats of Nike retail. Josh Davis, he's been with Nike for over 20 years now. He's all the way in corporate. And I've literally learned so much business acumen from them. How do you look at your quick stats? How you look at your inventory? What's your turnover rate? Why is your margins low on this product? What should you focus on during this time of the year versus this time of the year? You're high on clearance items. How do you turn over your clearance items a little bit faster? Do you reallocate your product, right? So KPIs, key performance indicators. That is like the basics, yeah, for sure. But when you're deep diving into your business, every single SKU counts for something, bro. And
That's amazing.
that's what I learned from them. And honestly, I had aspirations, and I tell this all the time, to work for Nike corporate. as an allocator, as a buyer, because at the time with my time at Nike, mind you, I was there for 11, 12 years. I had grown a passion for Nike products, right? So I was like, yo, I should be a buyer. I know this market better than anybody, blah, 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 blah. Sure enough, I was given an opportunity and they sent me out to Nike corporate with one of my best friends, Maria. She's my business partner now. And I got to see what a day in the life of the allocators and the buyers of these products and how they run their day to day. And I honestly, and I say this all the time, I left Oregon, right, Portland, Oregon, deflated, man, because I was working my ass off for Nike, this company that I own nothing in, for aspirations of becoming an allocator or retail or a buyer working in the corporate space. And I could not for the life of me see myself living in Portland, Oregon. For those of you who have never been to Portland, Oregon, 9 months out of the year, it is foggy, misty, rainy, nasty weather. And you get 3 months of summer. 3 months, that's it. That's it. 3 months, you might see the sun. That's it.
Yeah.
And at the time, mind you, I'm not very athletic now, but at the time I was, right? I told you I was playing baseball. I supplemented that by playing softball. You know, I was active. I love playing sports, basketball, baseball, football with my friends. And I was like, I would just talk to Josh because Josh, my store manager then, was already there. He was the one that was kind of showing me around corporate. I was like, dude, when do you get to go outside and play? He's like, nah, man, you learn to run in the rain. You learn to just stay home inside, right? You learn to just acclimate. But if you look this up, man, Portland, Oregon has one of the highest suicide rates, and they believe it's
Yeah.
because of
The weather.
weather. Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I heard the headquarters of Nike is there. Here's beautiful. I
oh,
mean, the whole
amazing.
situation have videos on this place. I want to go. I'm a Nike guy, you know. But yeah.
It was an experience, man. I got to play on Bo Jackson Field. I got to play in the basketball court where Jordan shot the commercial for the Jordan ones. I worked out in the gym there because I was a Nike employee. I had access to all that stuff.
Yeah.
And again, I literally went through the whole campus, bro, except for this one section that is still closed off. Tinker Hatfield is like this design room. Nobody's allowed to go there. It's like their think tank where like all of the latest ideas that they have for products are there. So you need like special access to go there. You need to get
Clarence.
through. So that was the only area I wasn't able to check out. But aside from that, bro, I got to experience the whole campus, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So now I can see how much Nike did for you. When do we jump into real estate? What year was that?
Uh, geez, I want to say it was around 2015.
Okay. So
Yeah,
from Nike to real estate or something in between that?
it was pretty much a transition. But the transition started where I got my license. Um, uh, what inspired me to get my real estate license was at the same time my best friend that I've known from kindergarten, he had just gotten his real estate license and he was also a store manager for Sony at the time. And he was like, yo, Chris, like I'm doing like, you know, an extra 4 or 5 deals a year or so, making an extra $30,000-$40,000 a year on top of my salary. You should look into this. And I was just like, yeah, that's interesting. Right. So I took the courses. I even took some time off of work to take the real estate course, but I never like really committed to passing the test. Right. And I told you guys I was very active. I was playing sports all the time. And sure enough, I got hurt playing basketball. I went up for a rebound, landed wrong, ruptured my patella tendon, and voila, I was on bed rest for 5 months while this thing healed. So I took
Wow.
time.
5 months?
5 months. Well, it was 2.5 months to see if it will heal on its own. It didn't heal right. So then they had to go in for surgery. So then it was another 2.5 months. That was absolute brutal, right? But I look at that as a blessing because that gave me the time to reflect on my life. That gave me the time to really think about what I want to do. And I knew deep down inside I was unhappy with Nike. I was, right? So I took that time to pass my real estate exam. I did, right? I got registered with this brokerage. They're still around, G World Properties. And the reason why is because one of my employees at Nike told me, oh, my mom's a broker. I'll set you up with her. And I was like, sure, you know, I didn't know any better, right? So I got some mentorship from them. They kind of told me how to market yourselves. Their philosophy on marketing was paying for Facebook ads. And I did that while I was working at Nike. And sure enough, bro, I would spend money on these ads and I would get some hits here and there and I have conversations with people. But working at Nike really inhibited me from really going out there and getting after that relation. Hey, we want to go look at properties. Sorry, guys, I'm working a 12 to 9 shift today at Nike. I can't show houses today. My next day off is this day. If you want, I can show you some houses in it. Right. It just wasn't very conducive of allowing my real estate career to kind of flourish. And sure enough, I got to a point where I was just like, you know what, man, I have some reserves. I have some money saved up. Let me just make let me just make the move. Let me just make the move. And I literally just stopped going to work, man. I quit. I put in my 2 weeks. I left. And yeah, man, I got started in real estate full time. At that time, around that time, that was when I met Edison Moreno. I still remember Panera at the Loop. Which, by the way, bro, did you know Panera at the Loop closed down? Makes me so sad. I have memories there, bro. Um, but
Yeah,
I
it's a
met,
Korean spot now.
yeah. So I met Edison there around that time where I got started. I want to say that was like 2017, 2016, somewhere around that
Yeah,
time frame. Um,
yeah.
and I started with Robert Slack Fine Homes, and they were willing to bet on me, man. They bought me some leads, and let me tell you this, man. For the first 3 months, I did not sell a damn thing. I did not sell a damn thing. But
Who was your team leader?
Edison Moreno was my
Got it.
team leader.
Got it.
Yep, yep. So
Mhm.
he Edison did something with me, and one thing that I appreciate about him is that he would literally go on ride-alongs with me because he would talk to me. He would say, "Hey, what's going on, man?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm showing houses. I'm doing this. I'm doing all that." And mind you, I was working my ass off. Like, bro, I would be on my kitchen table at 8 o'clock in the morning, following up with leads, calling people, doing MLS drips, doing this, doing that. And I'm sure he saw the activity, but it wasn't getting me. And sure enough, he would host trainings for me. He would go on ride-alongs with me. I would go on ride-alongs with him to see how he interacts with customers. And honestly, one day everything just clicked like that. And then I just started getting contracts. And Edison, you remember, bro, like for like 5, 7 months, for like 5 months straight, dude, I always had about 8 to 9 pendings at all times. At all times, including those 3 months that I didn't sell. I sold 18 units in 9 months. So I really sold 18 units in 6 months. I was kicking ass after Edison was done training me. And it was because it was just all I would do. Around the 6 month mark, that's when my wife Vanessa kind of started coming into my life, and it kind of like helped me kind of just reinforce some of the behaviors that I had already been doing. But she just kind of made it easier for me to follow that process and kind of create that environment for me to continue to push the business.
Well, Robert Slack, how many years were you there for?
I was there for 9 months, man.
9 months straight.
9 months, yep. And what ended up happening, nothing bad against Robert Slack or the environment there, but I did a deal with at the time, well, they're still around, Ryan Holmes. And at the time, Ryan Holmes isn't the Ryan Holmes you guys know today. Let me just say that, okay? They were paying 3% at the time when I decided to do that deal, okay? And sure enough, the agent that was doing that deal with me, her name was Jill. She was getting promoted to management. And after we finalized the deal, the client didn't close yet. She reached out to me and said, "Hey, Chris, in a couple of weeks, I'm starting my new role as management, and I don't know something about you. I like how you handle your clients. I like how our transaction is going. I would love to know if you want an opportunity to come work with us at Ryan Homes." And dude, coming from Nike, where they were paying me like $50,000, $60,000 a year, to a builder offering me $115,000 pretty much guarantee as a base. As a base, I was just like, sign me up. Ryan Holmes is a blessing in disguise, man, because there I got legitimate sales training. I learned who to follow in the sales world. They put me on to Jeffrey Gittimer. No, not Jeffrey Gittimer. Jesus, what damn, I forgot his name. His name is Jeff too. Jeff Shore. If you guys haven't heard of Jeff Shore, you guys can listen to his whole podcast series, The Buyer's Mind. And that's literally how I learned how to sell. I listened from episode 1 all the way through of The Buyer's Mind on Apple Podcasts, and I'm sure he's on Spotify too. And all they did was talk about how the human mind works, the psyche of the human mind. And his belief was if you know how somebody wants to buy, you can reverse engineer the buying process, right? And I literally would just digest that. Every time I got in my car, I wouldn't listen to music. I would listen to The Buyer's Mind. It took me like 2 months, 3 months to get through the whole series. And then from there, I was just hungrier for more information. I was just like, what else can I get? What else can I learn from this thing? Because this is way more beneficial than me listening to music all day. Don't get me wrong, I love music, man. I love music. I listen to music whenever I need to get some focus work done. But I looked at my time in the car because I had to drive, dude. I had to drive from Kissimmee to Champions Gate, which was like a 45-minute drive if you went local. I would be able to sneak in an episode and a half on the way there and an episode and a half on the way back. That's 3 episodes a day that I was listening to, man. And I would say I noticed that my conversation with buyers got exponentially so much better. Because when you start with Ryan Holmes, there's like a 3-month period where you're not selling, you're on a salary, and you're just training, observing, and helping out the sales reps. So in that time frame, I feel like I was just mastering the fundamentals,
That's
learning
awesome.
the psychology of a buyer, watching the best sales reps in Ryan Holmes, see how they kind of handle those challenges. And I attribute my success with sales to that incubation period where all I did was learn about human psychology and buying,
Yeah,
watch it, and then mind you, if you're in a sales center, dude, you're forced to interact with buyers.
sure. That's true.
You know
So
what I'm saying?
Ryan Holmes
Yeah.
to what was the next thing after Ryan Holmes?
So after that, I started noticing that right around when I left, that's when Ryan Holmes was changing their commission policy. They reduced everything to 2%. And it was really starting to put a sour taste in some of my preferred realtors or my referral partners that were bringing me businesses out. So I was like, yeah, this isn't a good fit. And we decided to part ways. And then I started with Beezer. And I was with Beezer for a very short time, maybe like 9 months total. But dude, I started off with a bang. The first week that they put me on there, I got a sale. The second week, I got a sale. Third week, fourth week, sale, 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 sale. In the first quarter that I was there, I was the second top. I was the second agent in Beezer, and it was a really good experience for me, man. Honestly, I wasn't too fond or keen on how they manage the sales rep. Kind of felt like it wasn't the best situation for me. It was almost like micromanagement, and I'm not the type to be micromanaged. I have a distaste for it. So I would get complimented for my sales, but then I'm gonna get dinged for like stuff. It's like, dude, do you want the sales or not, bro? Like, forget your stupid CMA. I'm selling a house right now. Like, sorry that somebody came in here and in the time that you want me to do something, but you want me to sell this house, right? So it just wasn't a good fit, and I kept kind of bumping heads with management. And after about 9 months, I decided to kind of part ways with them.
Well, Beezer. I know
Beezer,
them really well.
I have a distaste for them right now, brother. I literally do not like them, but whatever. They build a good quality product. I just don't like how they treat their employees.
Yeah.
I'll leave it there.
After Beezer, what happened?
After Beezer, I think the same day that I left Beezer, I called up my boy Edison over here, and I was like, "Yo, I'm a free agent now. What's the move?" And within about a week or so, I was back on his team. At the time, I think Edison was with Orca
Orga
Homes,
Holmes.
and I got started with them. And dude, I think Edison, correct me if I'm wrong, man. I think within 6 months of me selling, I think I did 10 deals. You
Yeah,
know,
bro. You were on fire, bro.
yeah. So like, I remember like at the time, I didn't really know Juan that well, but Juan was like his right hand at the time. And I was on quote unquote Juan's team, and he was like, "Bro, I never hear from you. I never see anything that you do, but then every time I check your dot loop, like you're fucking on fire. What are you doing?" And I was just like, "Bro, I'm selling fucking houses. What the hell am I supposed to be doing? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, what do you want me to do? Like that's what I do." And I was there I mean, I would have been there forever, right? But I was presented with an opportunity at that time by Dan Savage, Orca Home Loans and the broker for Orca Homes. He called me up. He's like, "Look, Chris, every person that you refer to me is gold. They qualify for the exact program you tell me. You tell me how much they're putting down. You tell me what their monthly payment's going to be. How the hell do you do this? Are you shopping them somewhere else and then bringing them to me?" And I was like, "No, man. I qualify people on my first visit. By the time I get in my car for my first initial meet with this client, I already know if this guy's willing and able to buy a house." And they were like, "How do you do that?" And I was like, "Well, I learned that working at Ryan Homes." Right? Because at Ryan Homes, they go through training. And I also became best buds with my loan officer when I was in Champions Gate. He bought a house in the community. So every Tuesday, he would come to my office, and him and I would just kind of like nerd out and geek out on mortgages and loans and qualifying buyers and just take turns that way. And that's how I was able to learn how to qualify people. So
This circa, so it's Orca Homes. Let me go back. I like timelines. I think Edison one left Robert Slack 2019, 2020. I think Orca Homes came to
yeah,
fruition. They were there for a small period of time. I remember that I took over my team in Polk County and Robert Slack. And a lot of agents I was calling, "Hey, where are you guys going?" And come back. And I go, "We went to Orca Homes." And I think Edison was gone back then. Edison, what was the timeline? You left Robert Stack 2019, started Orca Home 2020?
Yeah, 2019 we went to Orca to get to with the ambition of getting that company up and running. We had a fallout with the owner, and then we decided to just know what we're gonna do our own thing. Forget about it. Diddy,
Yeah.
we're gonna do our own thing, and then yeah, August of 2020. So we were there for like almost a year, I think, with Orca.
Okay.
yeah. So January of 2020 is when I joined Edison and Juan at Orca.
Okay.
I say that because that was my last month at Beezer. So actually, technically, February of 2020 is when I
By
joined.
the way, right now COVID is happening.
Well, not yet, not
Oh,
yet. We didn't know it was happening, or we didn't know it was going to be COVID, right?
yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
It was
It was in the
Okay.
happening,
air.
but supposedly it was in China. I actually got COVID that December of 2019 because my community was right next to the airport. So we would get people from the airport all the time, man.
Yeah.
And I caught it. So I know for sure it was COVID back in 2019. Now, then I just thought it was the flu, right? Which
Okay.
probably would have felt like anyways.
Okay. So then eventually, so what happened to the mortgage? How'd you get the mortgage?
So yeah, so Dan Savage, the owner of Orca, approached me and he was like, "Hey, dude, like everybody you send me is gold. What's your secret?" And I told him, I was like, "Bro, I qualify people on my first visit." And he was like, "Well, why are you selling houses? Why aren't you doing mortgages?" And I was like, "Well, bro, I make 3% selling a house, 2.5, 3% selling a house. How much do I make doing mortgages?" And they're like, "Not that much, but you could do a lot more deals." And I was like, "Enlighten me." He goes, "Well, if you work your ass off, you could probably sell maybe 3 or 4 houses a month in real estate." And I was like, "You're right. And I won't have a life and I'll eat garbage because I'm going to be out in the streets all day eating food. You're right." He
Yep,
goes,
that sounds about right.
"Right." And he goes, "You could do just as much volume, or you'll do twice or 3 times the volume doing mortgages, and you could do it anywhere. You could do it from the office, you can do it from home. As long as you have a database of steady referral partners, why don't you come, get your license? I'll pay for everything. I'll pay for you to get licensed. I'll pay for your fingerprinting. I'll pay for your background check. I'll get you started. Don't worry." I said, "All right, let me think about this." So I go straight to Edison. I'm like, "Edison, I love what I do, right? Like I like what I do, but Dan just asked me, hey, if I wanted to become a loan officer." And I explained to him why, whatever. We had the conversation. He goes, "Listen, bro, I trust you. And one thing that I feel like is hard to come by is a loan officer that I can trust. So I support you 100%, and I'll make you a promise. Any deal that I get, I'll send your way if you get your mortgage license." Bro, this was right when this conversation took place, literally 2 or 3 days prior to everything being shut down for COVID, right? It was what, like March 12th or something like that, March 16th,
Thank you.
when everything was locked down for like 2 weeks, you remember? Right? And I think real estate was shut down for like a week. So
That's
on
right.
day one of the shutdown, Vanessa looks at me, she's like, well, if you can't show houses, what the fuck are you gonna do?
Exactly.
And I was just like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. She was like, well, didn't Dan offer to pay for your mortgage license? And I was like, yeah, he did. He was like, well, you're not gonna sit at home and do nothing. So sure enough, on day 2 of the lockdown, your boy was studying to become a loan officer. And that's how I became a loan officer. Yeah, I think you're muted, bro.
Sorry, man. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
So, okay. So COVID happened, loan officer. I remember that time. I was Robert Slack. I was an agent myself, 2020. And I'm like, dude, I need work. How am I gonna survive? And the things, worked out themselves. When did you meet Paul?
Paul was actually introduced to me by Edison as well. I guess Michelle Diaz, who was with More Homes at the time, and Chenier had worked with Paul Massey in his branch, and they had
Yeah.
introduced Paul to Edison and More Homes, and he went to present. And I guess Edison told him, "Hey, look, I already got a lender," and Paul was just like, "Yo, let me meet the guy." I didn't know it at
Yeah.
the time, but essentially what Paul did was a hostile takeover. He was like, "Listen, bro, I'm about to take over this branch, and you could be with me or you can get gone." But I was not happy at Orca, and at the same time, um, Edison had just created More Homes, and I was like looking for the right time to transition out of Orca into More Homes. And I was just like, look, I don't like this Dan guy anymore. He kind of showed me his true colors, and I don't want to do this anymore. So why not take an opportunity to work for a company like Movement Mortgage under somebody that has all this experience? I can learn a lot more. And at the time too, the broker market, if you talk to anybody that was in the lending industry in the middle and end of 2020, the broker world industry was getting crushed because we depended on wholesalers and turnover and their turnover time for underwriting. I remember I submitted a VA loan with Caliber, and their first initial underwrite took 21 days. How the hell am I supposed to close a loan in 30 days if the underwriter is not viewing the file until it's 21 days in?
Yeah.
Right. So I asked Paul about those stuff. I was like, bro, what are your turn times? He was like, yo, 6 hours, 24 hours max. Maybe 3 days. If you submit it on Friday, they'll pick it up on Monday. And I was like, what? For everything? He was like, for everything. I was like, you guys do this, you guys do this, you guys do this. He's like, we do all that. He was like, how are you learning right now? I was like, bro, it's the wild, wild west over here. I gotta just figure it out. He goes, dude, I'm gonna hook you up with all this training, everything. All you gotta do is just follow everything that we're giving. And bro, this man has not told me a lie. Obviously, I had to work on it myself, and I had to take time out of my day to work on my own self-development. But Movement had all the tools for me to learn everything: guidelines, access to underwriters. I'm able to bubble up questions, able to calculate income correctly with worksheets, right? Like all the tools that were thrown at me. At first, it was overwhelming. And dude, I was learning to be a loan officer at probably the busiest time in the industry. So take a novice person and throw them into the fire is pretty much what happened there. And I had to either figure it out or give up, and I wasn't gonna give up. So
Yeah, I think take a hungry person too. I mean, you could take a wrong person, fire, and just burn and be gone. Take the right person. And I think you always had it, man. Okay, cool. So Paul Massey got you his branch, you got trained, and then right by now, I think More Homes is up and running, right? August of 2020, I think they started their operations. And I think Movement Mortgage became the preferred lender a few months into it.
yeah, so my first day at Movement was November, like the first week of November of 2020.
2020.
Yeah, but they had already struck an agreement to be the preferred lender, obviously with the understanding that I was going to come over to Movement and all that stuff.
So the good thing that at least Edison's one of Edison's best friends is now his loan officer and his preferred lender. It's liaison between both companies.
Yeah, and I think I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I was like, yeah, sure, bro, I'll do it. Remember, bro, I was perfectly fine selling homes. I somehow, some way, like again, I like Dan, I guess is the one person that needs to get credit for seeing that in me that, hey, yo, you're able to qualify people within the first visit. Like you know enough to be a loan officer. And if it wasn't for that, dude, I'd probably be an agent still,
Yeah.
and not, there's nothing wrong with being an agent. Like I still sell to my personal sphere, right? Like, but I don't, like last year, I think I maybe did like 4 or 5 deals, right? And to be honest, like I wouldn't be able to do that without Vanessa. Like she's the one that's scheduling the showings for me. She's the one that does like the route for me. Literally, I just have to take some time off of work and go out there, show the homes, and come back. And she writes the offers for me. I negotiate the contract. I tell her what to do, and that's how we work it out, right? Um, so again, like I'm not really selling unless it's my personal sphere. I'm a full-time loan officer. And obviously I buy my own real estate too as well. So when I buy my own deals, I'm the agent on it, right? It only makes sense. So that's kind of how I use my license. It's not that I'm selling anymore. Like I don't get leads like you guys do. It's if it's not in my personal sphere, I've learned, man, like it's just with mortgages and how they're consuming my time. I can't put forth that effort. I can't. So if it's my
Yeah.
personal sphere or somebody that I sold the house to, where I know they know the expectations, they know how I work, I know what they like, and
Mm.
it's gonna be quick, then I could do it. If not, I'm not touching it.
Question: how long you been moving mortgage now? Exactly 2 years.
Yeah, a little over 2 years now, man. So I hit
January,
my
right? So
2 year
November
anniversary.
was your, yeah.
Yeah, I hit my anniversary like 2, 3, yeah, two
It
two and a
passed.
half months ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So I know you kick ass. I mean, your numbers. You were talking about your numbers the other day with me, and where do you? Because we're about to come to close to the hour, and this is the part where I like to now break it down. What do you think are the habits? What do you think are the key ingredients, the steps that you take every single day to be successful?
All right. Well, I'll tell you what my morning looks like.
Please,
Um,
that's our favorite thing to talk about.
yeah. So in the morning, I wake up like around 6:45 in the morning, 6:30, and I help Vanessa and Veronica get out the door. Vanessa usually takes Veronica to school. Usually once or twice a week, I take Veronica to school as well. But my main focus is to help out with breakfast and just facilitate that, right? Whether it's getting her dressed, helping her with her food, finishing breakfast, whatever the case is. Pretty much from that time to like about 7:30 when Vanessa and Veronica are out the door, I am full-time dad mode, right? But then I take 7:30 to about 8:30 to just reflect within myself. What do? I read a one pager. I recommended it to quite a few of you. It's Tony Dungy's Uncommon Life. It's literally a one-page read, and it's marked with the day of the year. So, for example, today I read January 25th, and I got a message from Tony Dungy. Usually, it's very deeply rooted in religion. So I've also been able to find religion through that. But to me, it just gets me in the right headspace, and it allows me to be grateful for everything that I have. Immediately after that, I read. I read for like 20, 30 minutes. It could be something educational. It could be something interesting. Right now, the book that I'm reading is called The Power of Now.
And my that
Eckhart,
tool. Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry.
Tool. Very good book, man. Really dives into, are you being present and are you being not? And it literally paints a picture. It's like, if you have problems in your life, it's because you're not being present in the moment,
Interesting.
right?
In
So
your
think about it.
marriage, your business, your family, friendship, everything.
Yeah, whatever it is that you're doing, you need to be present for it and give 100% focus, and make sure that you're focused on that moment, not your thoughts, not what's up here, but what's needed of you, right? And it gives you some tips on how to make sure you're being present. And that's really helped me out a lot, man, because it makes sense, right? a lot of the times the problems that come up is because we made a mistake in the past, right? Well, why did we make that mistake? Because we were rushing through it. Maybe we were careless about something. So then that's going to come forward into your future and give you a problem in the future. But if you take care of the present in that moment, you're not going to have those problems in the future, right? So that's what I'm currently reading now. But it's always a book, right? Something to kind of get me in the right headspace. And then from there, bro, I make myself some tea, and then it's off to work, bro. I use from 8:30 to like about 10 a.m. to as my deep focus time, right? Applications, contracts, anything that's miscellaneous that I know it's going to be time consuming where I need to give 100% focus to, that's what I knock out in that time frame, right? Then from 10 onwards, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's just kind of whatever comes, but essentially what I notice is that after 10 o'clock, that's when my phone starts ringing, right? That's probably a good time for me to start on my follow-ups, right? So I'm either doing outflow or inflow calls, right? Until the day is done. And then usually like around 4 o'clock, I get into some prospecting, right? I've been calling for an hour almost every single day, leads, and just trying to like make sure that I'm putting out productivity to kind of come back. What I've been doing lately is focusing on refis, right? So I know refis right now, business is dead, but I tell this to everybody that's had a conversation with me. Rates are going to come under 5% sometime second quarter of this year. My boy,
Habib, right,
Barry
Habib.
Habib says to mark your calendars for May 10th. So if you don't have May 10th circled on your calendar, make sure you guys have a reminder or something. But around that time, that's when the inflation readings are going to come out for April, and we're expecting rates to drop under 5%.
Yeah, I
Maybe,
believe that.
right?
I
So
believe that.
I already have a book of business. I have about 70 people that from my conversations of prospecting, they're like, hey, yeah, I bought my rate is 6.5. Yeah, I bought my rate is 7. I'm going to refi all of those guys, right? So again, I'm using my time today to make sure that I'm paying forward for my family, right? Because like we invest into real estate, we're doing loans, we're busy, right? But I always think about how long can I do this for? I don't want to do this forever, guys. This is hard work, right? I work 10, 11 hours a day. I love what I do. I feel like it's a great vehicle to get myself and my family to where we want to be, but it's not something that I'm going to do forever, right? If it's 3 more years, if it's 4 more years, if it's 5 more years, that's fine. But then what? I need to be able to rely on the investments and the decisions that I've made here today or in the present to be able to take care of my family in the future.
Good point, man. That's strong. You're right. That I think most people don't look at that life like that. They're on default. There's no plan. There's no strategy. There's nothing. They're on defense on versus offense. And you, my friend, are living your life on offense, right? I mean, I can't even remember the way you talk about Vanessa and the respect you give her and the constant, credit because you know that she's your president in your future, and you have to keep at that with her. You know what I mean? With your daughter and with your friends, it's all of us. You're the only one in the More Homes office that gives people gifts all the time. I mean, seriously, you're the only one who gives gifts. I haven't, gotten much, and I haven't given much, but you're the only one who remembers to give gifts, and it shows a lot of character. Besides the morning routine, besides the beautiful family support, anything else you want to give today to the audience before I do a Q&A that you say, KB, this works for me. I read. We all know you read a lot. Anything else?
Honestly, man, it's just don't be afraid to strike out, man. Like, I'm not afraid to call any client at any time and have any conversation with them. Why? Because I've been through every single conversation that you could imagine, right? I talk about experience, right? Mind you, I sold new construction for over 2 years. 5 days a week, I was in an office and I would meet 3 to 4 people a day, and I would have to have a conversation with them, the same conversation with them 3 to 4 times a day. What worked for me then is the same thing that works for me now, is have a process. Granted, these are human beings, they're going to throw curveballs at you, but sales is a process, guys. Ryan Holmes taught me this. Sales is a planned activity. Spa. Sales is a planned activity. The more you do, the more productivity you do, the more sales are going to come out of it. It's so cool. Like it was like a spreadsheet. Like, hey, how many clients did you talk to today? How many clients did you call today? How many events did you schedule for this month? And literally, the computer would generate how many sales I would get for that month. It's so crazy, right? Like I was like, how the hell did they figure it out? And sure enough, more times than not, that stupid little Excel spreadsheet was right, and it was so annoying, right? If I only had one sale, that's all I was getting that month. But it was because I didn't do my part, right? So I challenge everybody here. You have a great CRM. I talked to some of the highest producers. We just interviewed Richie Ibar. He uses Follow Up Boss. He is a $40 million producer that uses the same CRM that you guys are using.
500,000 commissions.
More than that, brother. I promise you it's more than
Yeah.
that. He uses the same CRM that we have access to, that More Homes is paying for. How is he able to do $40 million in volume and we can't, right? And I tell you why. He has a process. He knows I'm going to call you until you buy or you die. You either buy with me or I'm going to call you now, and I'm going to call you again in 3 months, and I'm going to call you again in 3 months after that, and 3 months after that. And the way he knows to do that is because he sets tasks in his follow-up, in his CRM.
Yeah.
The same thing I do with my CRM. Mind you, Movement has Paul has a whole different CRM. It's called Salesforce or Candid. But the thing I like about it is if it requires me to have a task for every single buyer. If not, it says no open task, and I can't get rid of it until I give it a task. So it requires me to always have a next step with my buyers. That's how I was able to do 17 million in 2021 and how I was able to do 21 million in 2022. Because of the processes and making sure that I have follow-up tasks for everybody that I've been connected to. So there's clients that I'm still calling, guys, that some of the people here might have forgotten about. But guess what? If they weren't ready then, they might be ready now. It's been 2 years. Maybe they're ready now. So that's my challenge to everybody. Always have a task schedule for all of your leads in your CRM and make sure you're following through on those tasks. The better you are at making your phone calls, the better you are at following up, the better you're going to be, and you're going to be better at handling objections. The more you're going to be forced to learn, because then people are going to say something. You're like, damn, I never want to feel clueless again. Let me go learn what that is. And guys, growth is not linear, right? Like you can't just say, oh, today I'm going to study and tomorrow I'm going to be smart.
Yeah.
No, man. Like you got to feed your brain every single day. I feed it books. I feed it podcasts. I feed it all kinds of information all throughout the day. And because of that, over the years of me doing that, 5 years of doing that is what's allowed me to know what I know today.
Beautiful. That's amazing. Yeah, Follow Up Boss is great. I remember when I first got to More Homes, I recommended it, and some individual said to me, no, KB Core is on steroid, CRM with steroids, and he ignored my suggestion. He's not listening to this. But anyways, he's right there. Just messing with him. Anyways, opening up the forum for everyone, Q&A. We have 4 minutes, guys. So who's got it?
I just got a quick question, like
Yeah.
as far as it's super commendable on how driven you are and how disciplined you are. Truly inspiring, and thank you for sharing. What do you do besides listen to podcasts and everything to recharge? Like what are your interests with your family, or, I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, for sure. And thank you for asking that. So Vanessa, again, I have to give kudos to where I owe kudos to, right? We have a very strict discipline at night. So I love my daughter, and so does she, but we know that a routine is the most important thing. And every night we make sure that she's in bed by 8 o'clock. That gives her and I at least a good 2-3 hours of just us time to do whatever it is we need to do. If I need to go work out, I need to work out. If she needs to go stretch, she goes stretches. If I need to just veg out for 2 hours, then that's what I got to do. But it gives us that time back, right? After doing what we do in a day, right? Like I have sometimes hundreds of conversations or 100 conversations in a day. sometimes my
Mhm.
brain is fried, and she understands that. She gives me that. So she'll say, hey, why don't you go work out? It'll make you feel better. And I work out. I should probably do that more often, actually. But my default is vegging out. but
Right.
but yeah, so that's kind of what I do to recharge on the weekend, or at least we try to plan a date night every once in a while. Because man, like in the craziness of the day, man, like you forget about those people, or you forget about the things that are important to you. And I talk about it on the podcast all the time, man. It's like, yeah, right now we're doing good. Business is great. We have investments. We're working on that right path. But what I've learned that gives me more joy is like little things, like watching my daughter like talk to me now, like knowing that I saw her grow from when she was like not even able to move, and now she's talking to me in full sentences. She's not even 4, she's 3. Compliments that the teachers give me about my daughter, like to me that gives me more fulfillment than a contract or this or that, because that's where my head is now. Like I feel like I've done a lot in that time frame, that I get more fulfillment from those other things.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Good question, Michelle. Anyone else?
Don't forget you play baseball too, bro.
Yeah, I play
Tuesdays,
softball
right?
once a week. Yeah,
Oh, softball.
Tuesdays. Yeah.
Awesome stuff. Oh, well, Chris Estevez, it's been a pleasure. Like I said, I was so nervous. As I promised the group chat, there'll be a lot of golden nuggets. Just to recap for me, I think it's your father's story. It's a story of its own. I mean, the fact that he put you guys here and went back to New York to provide, that itself speaks to much value, and it shows me the passion you have for your families. And I mean, you got it from that. I think.
Yeah.
Um,
I do thank him a lot for all the stuff that like the discipline that he's instilled in me.
yeah.
For
The
sure.
other thing I really like about you is you give your I always give my mentor credit all the time, and you did the same thing. Your Nike people, you give Paul a lot of shout outs. You give Edison much shout outs. You respect the people, and you don't forget them as your journey went on, and that's really important. Most people are just so self-centered. It's about them. So good stuff, Chris Estevez. Thank you so much for joining us, man. We love you. Guys, you know where he's at. You know where his handle. You want to share where can we find you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the WhatsApp group chat with you guys. So if you guys have any questions, you could definitely tag me through there. I mean, you guys, more homes, can definitely text me, call me. But Instagram, Estevez Knows and Estevez Homes. All right. Estevez Homes is more business. Estevez Knows is more personal. So if you guys want to find me there, feel free.
Third one will be Estevez Knows Business. Third IG page. You should do that.
I think that's
Um,
implied, bro. Estevez Knows Homes, bro. That's what it is, you know.
awesome. Love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Chris, you're the best, man.
All right, man. Thank you for having me,
Love you,
guys.
bro. Thank you, man.
Thank you so much.